Iran's nuclear program, and Iran has now confirmed a very key three-way nuclear talks. In fact, the nuclear talks Iran will be holding with Russia as well as China. This is the key nuke meet to be held on March 14. This confirmation is after Beijing also expressed its intention to host the meeting. Lifting of sanctions will also be discussed. This is, of course, going to have massive ramifications. My colleague Shreya joins us on the broadcast. Shreya, this is going to be a three-way nuclear talk. Again, keeping in mind what's happening with the US and Russia, including Ukraine, this comes at a very interesting time.
Absolutely, Ashish. This does come at a very crucial time with Donald Trump at the helm of affairs in the United States of America. And it also comes amid the fact that Donald Trump has written a letter to Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei saying that he's ready to talk to Iran for a new nuclear deal. But the Iranian president has actually rejected those talks. That olive branch that Donald Trump had offered, had extended to Iran, saying that do whatever the hell you want, I will not hold talks with you. Those are the words of the Iranian president, Pezeshkian. And therefore, this is, comes at a very interesting time with Iran rejecting the American offer and inclining towards its close allies, China and Russia, over a nuclear deal. Remember, in the previous Trump presidency, Donald Trump had withdrawn from the nuclear deal that involved Iran. And after that, there have been quite a number of times that America as well as Europe has raised concerns about Iran proliferating nuclear weapons. Iran has consistently denied, saying we're not propagating and producing nuclear weapons. But the International Atomic Energy Agency has time and again also said that it has, in fact, enriched uranium on its soil about 60%, which is the basic requirement for a 90% weapon grade of uranium that is used in a nuclear weapon. So that tussle really continues, but this, of course, comes at a crucial time considering that Donald Trump has been saying that he's going to exert maximum pressure on Iran as far as this nuclear deal is concerned. So we'll have to wait and watch what really comes of this extremely important meeting between Beijing, Russia, as well as Iran. Ashish.
Absolutely, Shreya. No week uneventful with Donald Trump in power there. And of course, with Iran now announcing this three-way nuclear talks with Russia and China, remains to be seen how Donald Trump and the United States respond to it. In fact, we are shifting our focus back.
Russian officials say 3 people have been killed in the Moscow region in one of the largest ever Ukrainian drone attacks on the Russian capital. Russia's defense ministry says it shot down over 300 drones across the country. The Kremlin condemned the early morning attack and accused Ukraine of intentionally targeting civilian homes.
The moment of impact, one of many in and around Moscow and around Russia. The country's defense ministry said it shot down 337 Ukrainian drones overnight, at least 90 in the Moscow region. But some made it through, hitting apartment blocks and parking lots.
It happened between 3 and 4 in the morning. There was a very loud sound. We woke up and began watching. We were frightened and couldn't sleep. We didn't realize what had happened.
4 Moscow airports were shut temporarily and dozens of flights diverted by what may have been the largest drone attack by Ukraine since Russia's full-scale invasion. Also in the early hours, Russian drones attacked the Ukrainian port city of Odessa. Officials say a fuel tank was hit, a children's toy warehouse, and other structures. Analysts believe both Russia and Ukraine are looking to improve their positions for negotiations, including those taking place in Saudi Arabia between top Ukrainian and U.S. diplomats. Before that meeting, Marco Rubio, the U.S. Secretary of State, told reporters he was looking to see what concessions Ukraine is willing to make.
And for more on this, I'm now joined by DW correspondent Grzegorz Szymanowski, who joins us from our studio Riga, where DW has been operating since Russian authorities closed down our Moscow bureau. Grzegorz, have there been any reactions to these attacks so far in Russia?
Well, Gerhard, the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov accused Ukraine of deliberately targeting residential buildings. We've seen these pictures in the report. However, the governor of the Moscow Oblast, of the Moscow region, said that the damage to the residential buildings was caused by the debris from the drones that were shot down or intercepted. And this version would also be consistent with the statements from the Russian Defense Ministry, which said that it shot down drones before they could reach Moscow. There were some calls from retaliation against Ukraine, calls from the Russian parliament. The head of the Russian parliament's defense committee said Russia should retaliate with hypersonic missiles, Oreshkin. However, we need to remember that even last night, Russia attacked Ukraine with over 120 drones and 1 ballistic missile, according to Ukraine. So Russia is continuing its attacks against Ukraine as well. And in this context, the Kremlin has also accused Ukraine of trying to spoil the emerging talks around Ukraine. We know that Russia is against the idea of a partial ceasefire that Ukraine is expected to present to the US today in Saudi Arabia. So this attack should be seen in the context of the ongoing negotiations.
Grzegorz Szymanowski, thank you.
We have breaking news coming out of the US. President Donald Trump says he's ordered the military to launch what he calls a decisive and powerful operation against the Houthis in Yemen. US media report the military is carrying out large-scale strikes against dozens of targets, including the capital Sana'a. Last week, the Houthis vowed to resume operations against ships in the Red Sea if Israel did not lift the blockade of the Gaza Strip.
We turn overseas now. Yemen's Houthi rebels are vowing to retaliate after U.S. strikes. The White House released a photo of President Trump watching as American forces carried out the attacks. The Houthis claim at least 31 people were killed. ABC's Christian Cordero has the latest.
Rising tensions in the Middle East tonight, just 24 hours after President Trump launched a large-scale attack on Iranian-backed Houthi rebels inside Yemen. New video shows smoke rising from an explosion. U.S. officials say last night's strikes hit dozens of missiles, radars, drone and air defense systems in Yemen. At least 53 people have been killed and nearly 100 injured. The Houthis promised to respond, claiming they launched retaliatory missiles and a drone at USS Harry Truman in the Red Sea, the same aircraft carrier that sent these fighter jets to strike Yemen. However, a U.S. official tells ABC News their claim wasn't true. The Biden administration had also conducted airstrikes against the Houthis, but President Trump vows this time is different, writing Iran's support for the group who's targeted commercial vessels and U.S. Navy ships at one of the world's most vital shipping routes must end immediately.
It is Iran that has repeatedly funded, resourced, trained, and helped the Houthis target not only U.S. warships, but global commerce, and has helped the Houthis shut down two of the world's most strategic sea lanes.
National Security Advisor Mike Waltz was asked by our Martha Raddatz today if there was any chance of direct U.S. military action against Iran. Waltz responded all options are on the table and that Iran's support for the Houthis, quote, will be stopped. Lindsay?
Christian, thank you.
وردا على هذا العدوان نفذت القوات المسلحة بعون الله تعالى عملية عسكرية نوعية استهدفت من خلالها حاملة الطائرات الأمريكية USS هاري ترومان والقطع الحربية التابعة لها شمالي البحر الأحمر، وذلك ب18 صاروخا باليستيا ومجنحا وطائرة مسيرة في عملية مشتركة نفذتها القوة الصاروخية وكذلك سلاح الجو المسير والقوات البحرية. وردا على هذا العدوان نفذت القوات المسلحة بعون الله تعالى عملية عسكرية نوعية استهدفت من خلالها حاملة الطائرات الأمريكية USS هاري ترومان والقطع الحربية التابعة لها شمالي البحر الأحمر، وذلك ب18 صاروخا باليستيا ومجنحا وطائرة مسيرة في عملية مشتركة نفذتها القوة الصاروخية وكذلك سلاح الجو المسير والقوات البحرية. إن القوات المسلحة اليمنية لن تتردد في استهداف كافة القطع الحربية الأمريكية في البحرين الأحمر والعربي ردا على العدوان على بلدنا.
اگر جنبه عملی به خود بگیرد با واکنشی سرسختانه و قاطع و ویرانگر جواب خواهیم داد. طی مدت نچندان طولانی جمهوری اسلامی ایران نقشی در تنظیم سیاست‌های ملی یا عملیاتی هیچ جریانی از جبهه مقاومت از جمله انصارالله یمنی ها یک ملت مستقل و آزاد در سرزمین خود هستند. آنها دارای سیاست مستقل ملی هستند. جمهوری اسلامی ایران نقشی در تنظیم سیاست‌های ملی یا عملیاتی هیچ جریانی از جبهه مقاومت از جمله انصارالله یمن ندارد.
This was an overwhelming response that actually targeted multiple Houthi leaders and took them out. And the difference here is, one, all options are always on the table with the president, but Iran needs to hear him loud and clear. It is completely unacceptable, and it will be stopped, the level of support that they've been providing the Houthis.
شن العدو الأمريكي عدوانا سافرا على بلدنا خلال الساعات الماضية بأكثر من 47 غارة جوية.
Tens of thousands lined the streets of Sana'a, Yemen Monday, chanting anti-U.S. and anti-Israel slogans. The massive demonstrations come on the heels of a new wave of U.S. airstrikes on the country that began over the weekend. Video shared by the U.S. Central Command on Saturday shows a ship firing missiles and a strike on a building seen from above. The U.S. says it is targeting Yemen's Houthi rebels in response to the group's threats to international shipping. The Houthis are linked to Iran and have taken control of the most populous parts of Yemen. They've also launched scores of attacks on Red Sea shipping since November 2023, which they say are in solidarity with Gaza's Palestinians amid the Israel-Hamas war. On Sunday, the Houthi-run health ministry said at least 53 people had been killed and nearly 100 injured in the U.S. attacks. The U.S. carried out another wave of airstrikes on Monday.
By the way, to the Houthis, this isn't a one-night thing. This will continue until you say, we're done shooting at ships, we're done shooting at assets.
On Monday,
a Houthi spokesperson claimed without evidence that the group had retaliated by attacking a U.S. aircraft carrier twice in 24 hours, saying it is, quote, responding to escalation by escalation. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump writing on social media Monday that the blame will fall on Iran from now on, after previously demanding that the country stop supporting the Houthis. Every shot fired by the Houthis will be looked upon from this point forward as being a shot fired from the weapons and leadership of Iran, Trump wrote, warning of, quote, dire consequences.
Ansarullah Yemen anjam midehad ra.
But the commander of Iran's Revolutionary Guard addressed Trump over the weekend, saying, quote, Yemenis are a free and independent nation in their own land and have an independent national policy. Ansar Allah is the representative of the Yemenis, makes its own strategic and operational decisions. Ansar Allah is the official name of the Houthis. The U.S. strikes represent the biggest U.S. military operation in the Middle East since Trump took office in January. They come as the United States ramps up sanctions and pressure on Tehran while trying to bring it to the negotiating table over its nuclear program. For City News, I'm Erica Natividad.